Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and I'm going to talk a little bit about masking because I've been doing a lot of masking at the medicine clinic where I'm working nowadays. I've been there for 2 weeks, and basically, I need to be liked by people, and I don't know the routines. I don't know how things work, and I'm really at the mercy of everybody there. So I need to act in a certain way in order to fit in and in order to, prove myself. So it really sucks, and I started realizing a little bit more when is it, it's hard to parse out because I'm so used to the mask goes on automatically in these situations, and so I can tell that I'm uncomfortable, but I don't know exactly how I would want to act if I were acting more myself, and when is it okay to unmask versus when I absolutely need to mask, when I'm unmasking when I really don't need to, and that's hard. And I realize that Paul McAuliffe at Autism on the Inside made a video about the 4 different kinds of masking, and I realized I do all 4. And that's pretty damning evidence. That I actually am masking, and I don't remember the 4 types. One of them was being quiet. One of them was being silly and acting like silly and cute. The third was performing, and the 4th was making excuses. And I do all of them, and it really sucks, But it's that's what you have to do when you're walking around in the world, and that's what I've had to do quite a lot in at medicine clinic now. So yes, I know that usually when I'm more myself, I'm more happy and bubbly, and I like to talk. But my mask is telling me, be quiet and just observe, because whatever I do kind of is the wrong thing to do or say, because I don't know these people. But at the same time, I have to act very kind to these people, and I have to, laugh at their jokes. And so that goes into being cute and silly, because it's I have to be endearing to these people in order for them to kind of save me when I have problems because I don't know how to do anything at this place, and so I need to pretend to be helpless, a little bit like a sweet cute animal. I need to pretend that I'm helpless in order for people to come and help me, and I think I've done that quite a lot in my life, because I'm a girl, and so I do have that kind of advantage, I guess, in that I can pretend to be just a dumb, silly, cute girl, rather than acting like the adult woman that I am. I look young, and so I can play up that part. The problem is that I don't always understand humor that other people have, so sometimes I laugh at people's jokes even though it's not funny. And that led me on a path of thinking, is me laughing a lot just a mask? And that really threw me in the loop, because ever since I can remember, age 3, people have always commented on the fact that I laugh too much. And I don't know if it's a nervous laughter or if it's just how I am. So I don't know if it's something that I should encourage or something that I should try to limit. And it's I don't want to need to control things, but it's kind of at this point, that part of the mask is just me. And so I know that throughout my life, people have said that I've laughed at inopportune moments, and so I've become better at not laughing as much. So I think that part of me, I think that what happens is that I laugh at things I find funny, which is quite a lot of things that most people don't find funny. And however, when people are telling jokes that other people find funny, I don't find them funny. And so there I'm laughing as part of my mask. So it's like, it depends. It's basically that my sense of context and of humor is just different than other people's. Because in every single one of my autism assessment, where they talk about how I am, how they interpret me in the room, they always say, like, she seems to be laughing at herself at inopportune moments, which is what I do in my videos. I laugh at myself while I'm doing the videos, and there's nobody on the other side who... I can't see you guys if you are laughing or not at what I find funny. So I will laugh anyways, and so that's very positive for me. But it's kind of a shame that nobody else finds it funny. The neurotypicals don't find me funny. And so, or they don't find life as funny as I find it. What they find funny, I don't find funny. So, yeah, I guess that's part of my mask, is kind of being silly. And I think there's a way for me to get out of certain responsibilities, which kind of goes with mask number 4 or whatever, which is making excuses. It's kind of like I'm making excuses for things that I cannot do because I am autistic. But I say, oh, it's because I'm lazy, or it's because I'm too tired today, or I'm sick, or whatever. So I've used that to get out of certain situations. Like I often had, like, I'm depressed, if I could say that to the person. Otherwise I would say, like, oh, I had a migraine, or I don't know enough about that to be able to do this, or I would make myself seem more incapable than what I was. However, at work I also need to seem competent, and that's where I think that was like the third kind of masking in Paul Michaelov's video, was performance. That's basically performing like to the best of your ability, and even going above and beyond to act like as if you are a person who can do these things. And so I have to pretend that I am competent and that there's no problem. So basically at my job now, I'm doing new things all the time. Everything is new and everything is difficult. And these things that another doctor at the place would find super easy to do, for me it's like it takes me 10,000 steps, and I get it wrong, and then I have to rectify the error, which isn't always possible, and I have to be met with 10,000 different people being disappointed at me not being able to do something simple. And so I have to explain, like, oh, I'm new here, which is an excuse, once again, because the actual real reason is that my brain, like, yes, I'm new, but I'm also having a harder time incorporating this new knowledge, because my brain cannot focus on 10,000 things at the same time due to me being autistic. So yes, it is difficult for everyone when they're new, but for me it's exceptionally difficult because I'm taking in so much new information. I cannot prioritize, I cannot sort things out, I cannot learn the process through somebody but just telling me on the phone or something like that. I need somebody to sit there and to make me redo several times. So I am slow, but I think, so there I'm making an excuse, but I'm also trying to seem competent by saying, yes, it's no problem, I'm going to try to do it, yes, it's going to be good, of course I'll fix that, and be like, people will pile on 10,000 things on me because that's what they do. The junior doctors there. They're like, oh, you should call this person and this person and this person and this person. And you have to do all of this, like they say this to you at 11, and you have to do all of this before 12. Because then all the phone lines are closed at that point or something. And also you need to do these things in the morning so that the patient will be able to get their medicines in the afternoon. There are these kinds of like deadlines in terms of times that I like find out about those deadlines on the spot. And I have to do all of these things. And it's like, it's a lot. And at the same time, there are like things beeping in the background and tons of new people that I don't know, and like I feel very helpless, but like at the same time I have to pretend that I know what I'm talking about, and I have to always seem interested in what's going on. So it's kind of like I'm putting on the persona of the person who's being interested in what's going on, because the actual me inside is too tired to take anything in. I cannot do it, my brain is not taking all the things in that my maybe very interested face is trying to show. Now, I don't know how good I am at seeming interested, but the doctors that I've gone with have said that I've worked really hard and done a really good job. So I'm guessing that part of my mask was, perceived in the way that I wanted it to be perceived. So yes, I was successful at masking, I guess. But at the same time, it's like people don't, I try to also seem approachable and a part of the group. And I can't. It seems like that's the thing that I cannot really do the masking for. When I'm eating lunch, I try to sit with the doctors that are eating lunch from that clinic. And it's like they don't invite me in, and I'm sitting there, and I see how the other junior doctors who are also new are being invited into these conversations, and I always feel outside. I always feel on the side. And yeah, somehow people notice that something is off about me, and they, some people, to their credit, try to include me and, talk to me like they would any other person. But in general, it's not the case, Okay, and the bells were ringing. Basically, so I've done all 4 of the 4, like, not well-known masking styles, which is being quiet, being silly / cute, performing, and making excuses. So yeah, I've done a lot of that, and it's successful in certain ways, not successful in other ways. Sometimes I think that people believe that they hate, like, sometimes I have this idea that everybody hates me and that I seem incompetent and blah blah blah. I have really literally no idea how they actually see me, and that leads to those kinds of rejection sensitivity bad ideas about myself, these cognitive distortions or whatever. But I think that neurotypicals have a better idea of how they're perceived because they have a bigger experience with social things, and also they have a better, I think that people tell them more things about themselves, and people say more things behind autistic people's backs. I don't know. I don't really know if that's true, but that's just how it feels to me. I also think that, reading the social cues, I can't really do that as much. But another thing is that I think that when I'm masking, I'm even less, I have so much focus on the mask, I guess, compared to what I'm actually doing, so my performance is actually worse. And then there's this whole thing of like theory of mind, blah blah blah. I think I have a hard time seeing how other people see me, and that's in every situation. And you know, because of all the trauma of all that, you know, not knowing, like having bad social situations happen, it's hard to do social anxiety CBT because it's like I don't know anymore what is a cognitive distortion and what is actually true. I don't know. And there's no way of knowing because I cannot perceive the way that a neurotypical person perceives things. So yeah, it really sucks. And so that's why I probably put on the mask on more than I should. It's also quite unfortunate that something that makes me happy, such as laughing, is not seen as normal to neurotypical people. You know? Like, I know a lot of autistic people have the problem with, like, the poker face, bitch face, whatever, of, like, having no facial expression. And the having to smile bit, I do understand that is doesn't come natural to me either. Like, you know, customer service smile. I can smile, but it's not, you know, I can't do I don't have a really good, like, caretaking mask or like, you know, overly sweet mask. I've never had that. However, like, I wished I could have the poker face in like work situations, because a lot of doctors have that kind of face, and it would help. I think that what I perceive as being my normal face seems stressed and seems scared and anxious, because maybe that's what I am at all times, I guess. But yeah, it's also the fact that I laugh sometimes inappropriately. But you know, like, I don't do it when it's important to not do it. Like, you know, when I'm talking to patients and their loved ones or something, I don't laugh when I'm talking about serious things with them, you know? It's a shame, you know, because that's one of my favorite things about myself, and that has been part of my identity, of being that person who is always laughing. Then, of course, when I became depressed at age 15, I realized, like, oh, well, I'm actually not as cheerful as my laugh would make it seem. But I still would laugh at things even though I was depressed, you know? Even though I felt numb, the laughter would come anyway. And I don't know what that means, you know? I just feel like physiologically my body is just has a lower threshold to laughter. Just like it has a lower threshold to crying. And so I just cry way more easily than the average person. And I laugh more easily than the average person. Now, does that translate to bigger emotions? Maybe. Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, I think I don't need as much of a big emotion to feel, to express it through crying and through laughter. At the same time, there are certain periods of my life where I've had a hard time to cry or a hard time to laugh. But in general, I think that my inner self is a person who laughs and cries a lot. And that's just how I am. And so I don't think that, you know, so even though there's a part of me that is masking and creating, amplifying certain expressions on my face, certain emotions, deep down I actually am feeling them, you know? So it's hard to parse out what is masking, what is not, what is me, and what is not. And I want to go back to a little bit this topic in another video, but I've been watching a lot of Professor Sol's video, and he talks a little bit about the mask, and how, you know, you can't return to your 3-year-old self that was before the masking, you know? You can't return to that, so you need to sculpt, create a new mask. And that's hard, because I don't really know where to start. You know, I need to create a new self from scratch at the age of 29, almost 30. How do you do that when I've been suppressing my baby self all of these years so that it just stayed a baby? I don't have a self underneath the mask, because the mask has kind of, you know, I've been working so much on the mask that my mask is more developed than the actual self that is underneath. And is there even a self underneath that is, you know, worth keeping as a 30-year-old, you know? I need to start crafting, and I have just like a blob of clay, while people have like an actual sculpture underneath. Most people, I guess. But if you've started masking at the age of 3, then you know, all you have is like a blob to shape. And so I need to, but I'm guessing like it's kind of like I have a blob that's already solidified, and so it's harder to shape now when I'm so old, you know, but I have to shape it anyways so that I can have an actual identity, and that's going to be really hard. But yeah, that was the realization of the day. I was like, oh shoot, so I mask in all of the ways, but it's not like in the way that most masks are described. You know, most masks are described as like, oh, you look in the mirror and you practice facial expressions and practice sentences. That's not really how it goes for me. For me, it's kind of like I go on automatic. And I guess that when I was a child, maybe I would do these things, but I don't remember that, because I was masking the whole time. I kind of dissociated, and I don't remember most of what happened in my childhood. Like, it wasn't like a big trauma happened to me, but because I was shielding myself from being traumatized, because I knew that I was different and that I was sensitive. So I was shielding myself by just not remembering anything of what was going on. And I guess that is good, because it protected me, but now it's like, well, what actually happened? I don't even know. I don't even know who I am at this point. And I talk a lot about my childhood, but basically everything that I've told on here is like the only things I remember, which not great. But anyway, that's all I had to say for today. Tell me about you guys and how you mask, or if you don't mask, or if you're capable of masking. I know that it's a privilege to be able to mask in the first place, because it really does help in day-to-day life. It's just that there comes a certain point that the mask leads you to burnout, which happened to me, and I hope it's not going to happen to me again, but we'll see. So yeah, have a good day. Bye.